Hi everyone, and thanks for being here. My name is Catalina Bohórquez, but please call me Cata. And today we're going to be talking about a little bit of UI UX design, SEO, and in case you haven't heard about SXO, stay. That we are going to be discussing this topic today, and let's get started with it. So before I move forward, just to give you a little summary, SXO is not a new terminology, it's only a combination between two super important terms that is going to be SEO and UI UX. So search experience optimization is, let's imagine that UI UX and SEO have a children together, and that is what SXO is about. So how is different SEO and UI UX versus SXO? Is not, there's no different. The only difference is that SXO aims to get both efforts together to make a better experience for every user. And that is where we need to have clarity on it, because it's not like you're going to start introducing new terminology to your team, but you're going to merge the efforts. So I wanted to give you a real life example of why SXO is important and how you can integrate it into your company, and just to show you that this is not different from what you're probably doing right now, but how you can integrate both SEO and UI UX efforts to create something like I'm going to show you. So let's begin with this case. We had company X. Let's say that they are a really huge supermarket company across Latin America. They have presence in several countries, but they have a really big problem right now. They have a really good and consolidated SEO area, and they have a really good UI UX area, but they are not converting, and they are not attracting new public to the website and to get to new users to download the application to do all the shopping through it. So what's happening here? Problem number one, that is connection between the areas. Problem number two, let's imagine every time that you go to the grocery store, you see all the halls like organized, so you know where to go to get the eggs, you know where to go to get, I don't know, the meat or whatever you need to go back and prepare the lunch. That organizations were missing inside the website into the application. So that was a huge problem, because the user didn't know where to get started to start to adding things to the chart, because everything was an offer. And that leads us to problem number three, that is a confirmation bias. What is a confirmation bias? Is basically someone that reinforces a belief based on the information that you're giving to them. In this case, as everything were presented as an offering, the user were thinking that we were a low quality company, and that's why they weren't buying our products. And in that way, we have our three biggest problems that leads to the ultimate problem, that we weren't converting and bringing new people, new audiences to the company to perform a purchase either in the website and the app. So first start, go back to the market and see what was happening there, how we can integrate new technologies, new interactions into a website and the application. Task number two, and I think the most important one, is go back to the human, go back to what is important, to get to know my user, who is the person that is behind the screen, how is the interaction that they are performing with the device that they are using. And task number three, see how we can get those to new knowledge, let's say what's happening with the marketing is what's happening with the new generations, and create new integrations with interactivity into our website and into our application. Okay, going back to the task, what we discover when we perform every task that we have in our to-do list, we discover really interesting about both G and alpha gens, because they really want to go back to the kitchens. They really want to go back and prepare their own meals to integrate organic food to their daily basis. But let me tell you something, really good hint here. They don't know what to prepare. They don't know the ingredients, and they don't know the recipes either. And that was a huge insight because we were working with a supermarket and we have all the things that the user actually needs to prepare a good meal at home. But how can we tell them what to buy without being too aggressive? Something that we discovered too about these two generations is that they love to perform quizzes. They love to know what kind of smell they need to wear in summer or winter. They like to know what type of meal they need to eat depending on their body types. They really like to know these kinds of things. Even if they already know that, they really like to approach the brands that have these kinds of answers in their websites. So Gen Alpha and Gen Z, they are, even if they are going back to the kitchen and try to go back to the organic, they are also a really technological generations. And something important to mention too is that they are using artificial intelligence every single day. They are stopped using Google as a single source of truth, different from what we millennials did back in our days. They are using tools as ChatGPT, Gemini to ask for solutions for their daily basis questions. And most of those questions is, how can I prepare a decent meal? So what I'm showing you right now is a real life example of how we can integrate all the things that I told you before, how we can integrate the insights about the user and how they want to go back to the kitchens, how they want to start doing their own recipes, how we can integrate quizzes and this kind of knowledge into our digital experiences. And something really important is when we are creating this type of products, we always need to keep at the top of our minds what are the marketing objectives and how we can integrate the brand needs into the things that we're building. So what was the result? We were telling here the user, like, we know that you want to be a really good host when you're preparing a meal for your friends, even if it's a birthday or a casual dinner with your family and friends. So we created a quick quiz with only 6 questions. So what we had at the end of the quiz, we had also recipes. As I was telling you at the beginning, these two generations want to go back to the kitchen. But what is more important here, besides of course showing the user a possible option to prepare at home, is to integrate the efforts of UI UX and SEO to merge both together and create an SXO experience. But as another thing that we want to integrate here is to make the user's life a little bit easier. What we are proposing here is to have everything that you need at just one click added to your shopping cart. And in that way, we are going to make sure that the user had a good experience, get the information that was relevant for them to go back home and prepare what they need, but also to show them how with our products, our quality products, they can prepare that meal that they want and have everything at just one click. And in that way, we are integrating all the things that we were mentioned before, a good SEO experience, because probably they were actually looking for a recipe and not exactly the separate ingredients. They also had the quiz integrated here. They have an answer, they have the recipe, and most important, they have all the things that they need at just one click. And this is how we can integrate SXO into our digital products. Something really important that we need to keep at the top of our heads when we are performing these kinds of improvements to our digital products is always to keep in mind that we are designing these products to real life people. Always behind each screen, there's like a real human being that is performing an interaction. So I think the key point here is that we always need to remember that we need to go back to our humans. We need to understand what's happening with them, what they like, how they do perform certain actions, and in that way we are going to achieve in an easier way our goals, because we are understanding the people that is behind the screens that we are designing. And that is key to perform a good SXO experience. Always keeps the human first. How can we see our own red flags and check if we need to integrate SXO into our efforts? First one, if you have a really good SEO area, but if you're having, for example, a huge bounce rate into your website, that is red flag number one. Probably that bounce rate is because the user experience is not good enough. So even if you have a really good search experience and the user discover your page super easily, probably they're leaving the website because it's not easy to use or it's not easy to understand. So that is red flag number one. Red flag number two, even if you have a really good product, a really good digital product that you already test and you receive a really good feedback, that the interactions were easy, that everything was like super easy to understand, but the people is not getting there you need to go back and check what's happening with your SEO experience. And red flag number three, if you have both SEO and UI UX areas but they don't communicate, that is red flag number three, and that is going to be the main of our problems, because what we want to do with SXO is to integrate the efforts of both areas to make everyone's life easier and at the end of the day give the user the best experience possible. Okay. To give you a final hint about AI integration into your digital products, let me mention something really important that I think I previously talked about it, and is how these new generations are changing the way that they search for different things. They are not using the browsers anymore. They are using things like ChatGPT, Gemini, or their own preference AI tool, because it feels more human, like more personal. It's a more personal search, like based on the specific needs of that user. So something to keep in mind, you can use your SEO efforts to integrate your websites and your SEO strategies to be more AI driven, and that is something that you can start exploring if you are interested into like getting the new generation's attention into your website in a different way. Okay, to finalize and summarize all the things that we just saw, let me remind you that SXO is not a new thing. We are not integrating new technology or net new things to the things that you do every day with your company. But what we are doing is to merge two really big areas into become almost one, SEO and UI UX, because remember that working together is creating more and better digital products for the users that your brand could have. Something that I want you to keep at the top of your mind is to remember that even if you don't have the greatest budget, you can always integrate these new type of things, but only if you count with the correct human beings working with you. Because it doesn't matter if you have the greatest technology, but if you don't have the correct people to get to know how to use those technologies, you are not going anywhere. So I like to tell you to empower your team to integrate these new terminologies, to work together, to merge the knowledge to get better user experience, better search experiences. And let me remind you, we and Julius do exactly that. If you need help with anything, just leave us a comment. We are here to help you. If you're interested in getting to know more about SXO and how you can integrate these kinds of terminologies into your companies, we are more than happy to help you to achieve that. And it's also the same with the AI technologies. If you're interested in getting to know how to integrate new tools into your digital experiences or into your customer experiences, that is something that we can do too. And most important, remember that everything depends on how you take it. So take this information, apply it to your teams, play with it, make tests, because the biggest error is not to try new things because we are afraid of the things that we didn't know. And thank you so much for watching. Until the next time.